On the morning of November 13th, 2012, Dave Kroupa kissed a woman goodbye and left for work. A few hours later, he got a text message from her. She wanted to move in with him. They had been dating for 2 weeks. He said no. She responded with a burst of rage. "Fine. I hate you. I'm dating someone else. I don't want to see you anymore. Go away." And then, for 3 years, she kept texting. Tens of thousands of messages, threats, obscenities, descriptions of what he was wearing, where he was sitting, who he was with. "I see you. You're sitting in your chair with your feet propped up, wearing a blue shirt." And those things were true. But here is what no one involved in this story understood for a very long time. The woman who sent those messages was not the woman who had kissed him goodbye that morning. She was someone else entirely. Someone who had been in his hallway once for 10 seconds and who decided in those 10 seconds that the woman who did kiss him goodbye could not be allowed to exist anymore. The woman who kissed him goodbye was named Cari Farver. She was 37 years old. She was a mother. She was a computer programmer. She was a person who lit up a room. No one has seen her since that morning. This is the case of Cari Farver, and this is the open file. Cari Leah Farver was born on November 30th, 1974. By 2012, she was living in Macedonia, Iowa, a town of roughly 300 people, the kind of place where the geography of your life is measured in the distances between the places that matter: your house, your job, your family, your son's school. Her son Max was in high school. He was the center of her world in the particular way that a child becomes the center of a single parent's world. Not because there is no one else, but because the relationship is forged in the daily architecture of just the two of you. The mornings, the dinners, the quiet evenings, the small routines that, over years, become the bones of a life. Cari worked as a computer programmer in Omaha, Nebraska. Her office was about an hour from her home. It was, by her own account, and her mother's, her dream job. She was good at it. She was precise, logical, methodical. The kind of mind that belongs in front of a screen, breaking problems into components, finding the elegant solution. Her friends described her as vivacious and warm. "You noticed Cari when she walked into a room," her friend Amy Long said. "She had a laugh, she had a smile. She lit up a room. You couldn't help but notice her. You were drawn to her." Cari had been diagnosed with depression in her late 20s. Later, the diagnosis became bipolar disorder. Her mother, Nancy Rainey, said she had been seeing therapists and was on medication. There were times when Cari stopped taking it. "Mom, I feel like I'm numb," she told Nancy. But by 2012, Nancy said her daughter was in a good place. She had the job she wanted. She had Max. She had stability. She had no history of erratic behavior. She had no history of violence. She had no history of stalking anyone. She had a history of being someone people wanted to be around. That matters. It matters because of what happened next, and because of what the police chose to believe. Dave Kroupa moved to Omaha in 2012 to manage an auto repair shop. He was recently separated from his longtime partner, Amy Flora, with whom he had 2 children. He was, by his own description, rusty at dating. He signed up for a couple of online dating sites. The first woman he met was Shanna Elizabeth Goliar. She went by Liz. She told him she was a single mother with 2 children around the same age as his. They went on a few dates. The relationship became physical. Dave told her he enjoyed their time together, but that he also wanted to continue seeing other people. She accepted this, or appeared to. About 6 months later, a woman brought her Ford Explorer into Dave's shop. Her name was Cari Farver. Dave said there was a spark immediately. She's showing me something inside the vehicle, and we're standing there, and we're very close. And there was some tension. He asked her out. They went on a date. He invited her back to his apartment. Cari told him she was just looking for fun. She didn't want anything serious. As she was leaving Dave's apartment that night, she walked past a woman in the hallway. It was Liz Golyar. She had arrived unannounced to pick up some belongings she said she'd left behind. The encounter lasted maybe 10 seconds. 2 women passing each other in a corridor, each aware of the other's presence in a space that one of them considered hers and the other did not. It was just a brief encounter, maybe 10 seconds or less. But this encounter would go on to have lasting ramifications for all 3 of them, said Jen Carpenter, a podcast host who followed the case closely. 10 seconds. That was the length of time that Cari Farver and Liz Golyar occupied the same physical space. It was the first and last time they would ever be in the same room. And it was enough. Cari Farver's office in Omaha was close to Dave Kroupa's apartment, much closer than her home in Macedonia, Iowa. When she was assigned a challenging project at work, Dave offered to let her stay at his place during the week. She accepted. On the morning of November 13th, 2012, Dave got ready for work. Cari was still at his apartment. He kissed her as he left and told her he'd see her that evening. Around mid-morning, he received a text message. It appeared to be from Cari. She said she wanted to move in with him. Dave was confused. They had already discussed this. They were keeping things casual. He texted back that he wasn't interested. The response came almost immediately. It was a burst of fury. "Fine, I hate you. I'm dating someone else. I don't want to see you anymore. Go away." Profanity throughout. Dave said he was blown away. When he got home that night, Cari was gone. Her belongings were gone. She was simply not there anymore. A few days passed. Then Dave's phone began to light up again, this time with a different kind of message. Not rage about moving in, something else entirely. "I hate you. You've ruined my life. You're a terrible person." Then, after a few more days, the tone shifted again. Threats, obsessive descriptions of his movements. "I see you. My favorite thing to do is stand outside and stare at you." Dave Kroupa believed he was being stalked by a woman who had lost her mind. He changed his phone number. He changed his email address. The messages found him anyway. He did not yet understand what was actually happening. While Dave was being bombarded, Liz Golyar was too, or so she said. She told Dave she was receiving threatening texts and emails from Cari as well. The messages to Liz were vicious, jealous, obsessive. Whore from Dave was spray painted inside Liz's garage. She reported it to Omaha police in late November 2012. And so, a narrative was built, not by a single person, but by the accumulation of messages that seemed, from every angle, to confirm the same story. Cari Farver was alive, she was unstable, and she was destroying the lives of everyone around Dave Kroupa. the most compelling detail was this. Dave and Liz would often be sitting on the same couch, watching television, and both of their phones would blow up with messages from Cari at the same time. How could Liz be sending the messages if she was sitting right next to him, also receiving them? The answer would not emerge for 3 years, but the answer is this. Liz Golia used a scheduling application that allowed her to compose messages in advance and have them sent automatically at a specific date and time. She could sit on a couch next to Dave, press nothing, and watch both their phones receive the messages she had written hours or days earlier from herself. She spent an estimated 40 to 50 hours a week impersonating a dead woman. She set up more than 24 fake email addresses, all containing some variation of Cari Farver's name. She used digital proxies to mask her IP address. She sent Dave approximately 15,000 emails over 3 years. The text messages may have numbered as many as 50,000. She texted Cari's mother, Nancy Rainey, posing as her own daughter. The messages told Nancy not to look for Cari. They told Nancy she was not a good mother. They told Nancy she was controlling. And Nancy noticed something that the police did not. The messages were full of grammatical errors, punctuation mistakes, and spelling errors. Cari Farver was a computer programmer and a stickler for punctuation and spelling. Her mother knew this. The person writing the messages did not. Nancy begged the police to listen. She told them about the bipolar diagnosis, and the police, according to author Leslie Rule, said, "Well, this kind of thing happens all the time. When somebody who's bipolar stops taking their meds, sometimes they can start some really erratic behavior." The police chose the explanation that required no investigation. A mentally ill woman went off her medication and became a stalker. It fit a narrative. It closed a file. And it was entirely wrong. While Cari Farver was gone, while her son was waiting for a mother who would never come back, while her mother was begging for help that would not arrive, her identity was being systematically dismantled. Liz Golia did not simply send threatening messages. She built an entire architecture of impersonation. She used Cari's Facebook account to message Cari's family. When Max, Cari's son, messaged his mother's account 6 months after she disappeared, he received a reply. "Hey little man, how are you?" He asked her 3 questions to verify her identity. His middle name, the name of their first dog, and his best friend's name. The account never replied again. She sent Dave a photograph of a woman tied up in the trunk of a car, accompanied by a threat to kill Liz. That photograph was later traced back to Liz Golia's own phone. She sent Dave a link to a fake obituary for Liz Golia. She texted Nancy Rainey, posing as Cari, asking Nancy to let a furniture buyer into Cari's house. She sent a photograph of a check for the furniture, signed by the name Shanna Golia, Liz's real first name. A woman who claimed she had only met Cari once in a hallway for 10 seconds was selling her furniture. She uploaded a video to YouTube showing someone walking outside Dave's apartment under Cari's name. The IP address was traced back to Liz Golia's home. She called Cari's home 6 times using the *67 prefix to block caller ID. The calls came from Liz Golia's phone. Everything that was attributed to Cari Farver, every threat, every act of vandalism, every act of stalking, came from Liz Golia. And the woman who was actually being harassed, stalked, and terrorized, Cari Farver, could not report any of it because she was dead. In August 2013, 9 months after Cari Farver disappeared, Liz Golyar's house in Omaha caught fire. The fire killed every animal inside. 2 dogs, a cat, a snake, all 4 of Liz Golyar's pets. Fire investigators determined the blaze was intentional. Arson. Liz Golyar told police she believed Cari Farver was responsible. She said Cari had been escalating, that the threats had moved from digital to physical, and that burning down her house was the logical next step in a campaign of terror. She was right about the escalation. She was wrong about who was responsible. Because there is a particular kind of person who will set fire to their own home, kill their own pets, and blame a dead woman who cannot defend herself. And that person is Liz Golyar. Dave Kroupa was so rattled by the escalating violence that he bought a 9mm Smith & Wesson pistol for his own safety. He later noticed the gun was missing from his apartment and reported it to police. He did not yet understand why it mattered. He would. By the spring of 2015, no one had seen Cari Farver in 2.5 years. The harassment continued. The Omaha Police Department had not advanced the case meaningfully, and 2 detectives from the Pottawatomie County Sheriff's Office in Council Bluffs, Iowa, Ryan Avis and Jim Doty, volunteered to take it over. They had heard about the case around the office. They were intrigued. They were also sufficiently outside the original investigation to see what the first detectives had not. They made a decision that would prove to be the turning point of the entire case. They would approach it from 2 opposing directions simultaneously. Jim's going to work it like she's dead, and I'm going to work it like she's alive, Avis said. I'm going to try and prove every which way I can that Cari is still out there, and Jim is going to try and prove every which way that she is not. Avis started with the simplest question. Could he prove Cari Farver was still alive? He looked at her bank accounts. No activity. Not a single transaction since November 2012. No withdrawals, no deposits, no purchases, nothing. He looked at her phone records. No voice calls to anyone she knew. Not one. A woman who called her friends 20 times a day had not spoken to a single person who loved her in 2.5 years. He looked at her digital footprint. Activity. But activity that could be generated from anywhere by anyone. Messages, emails, social media posts. All of it text-based. All of it impersonal. All of it consistent with someone sitting at a keyboard pretending to be her. It's not normal for adults to just up and leave and literally spend no money, Avis said. No one's seen them, and no one's heard their voice. It just didn't make sense. She had good income, a good house. I had come to the conclusion that I could not prove she was actually alive. Jim Doty had been looking at Liz Golyar, and what he saw was a woman who had no connection to Cari Farver before she disappeared, but who became the central figure in every part of the story afterward. All of a sudden, she's this focus of harassment, Doty said. Her name was all over all the reports. So to me, there was something with Liz. She definitely was a person of interest. They enlisted Anthony Carver, a digital forensics administrator, and downloaded the phone data that Dave and Liz had voluntarily provided back in 2013. What Carver found was not subtle. Photos of Cari's Ford Explorer on Liz Golyar's phone, taken a month before the vehicle was found by police. 6 calls to Cari's home from Liz's phone, using *67 to block the number. The photograph of the tied-up woman traced to Liz's phone. More than 24 fake email addresses, each one a variation of Cari Farver's name, and the scheduling application, the tool that allowed Liz to compose messages in advance and have them sent automatically while she sat next to Dave on his couch, both of them receiving the same harassment at the same time. Right off the bat, Tony was able to point out that Liz was posing as Cari, Doty said. The fingerprint on the mint container in Cari's abandoned car, the one that didn't match anyone when it was first run in 2013, was now matched to Liz Gollier. In December 2015, Liz Gollier walked into the Pottawatomie County Sheriff's Office and filed a harassment complaint against Amy Flora, Dave Kroupa's ex-partner and the mother of his children. Liz said she now believed Amy had been impersonating Cari all along, not her. She mentioned Dave's missing gun. She said she thought Amy had stolen it. When detectives pressed her for details about the weapon, she grew suddenly vague. She realized that she probably shouldn't know any details about the gun, Avis said. And then any further question I asked about the gun, she was very vague. The detectives asked Liz to consent to another phone download. She agreed. The next day, she called 911. She had been shot in the leg. She told the dispatcher she believed the shooter was Amy Flora. Detectives suspected immediately that Liz had shot herself with Dave's stolen 9mm. Amy Flora was cleared within hours. But the detectives made a calculated decision. They pretended to believe Liz. They told her they wanted her help, to draw Amy out, to see if Amy would incriminate herself. Liz agreed enthusiastically, and then the emails began arriving, purportedly from Amy Flora, confessing to the shooting and, crucially, to the murder of Cari Farver. Amy described stabbing Cari in her own car. The investigators traced the emails back to Liz Gollier. She was the one writing them. She was confessing to her own crime in the voice of someone else, hoping to pin the murder on a woman who had nothing to do with any of it. Before the trial, Dave Kroupa provided investigators with a tablet he had owned since 2012. Anthony Carver examined it and found a memory card inside, the same card that had been used in Liz Gollier's phone around the time Cari Farver disappeared. Carver scanned through thousands of deleted image thumbnails on the card. One of them stopped him. It was a photograph of a human foot. On the foot was a tattoo of a Chinese character. The character meant mother. Nancy Rainey confirmed that her daughter had that exact tattoo on her foot. A medical examiner determined that the foot in the photograph belonged to a deceased person. The discoloration, the condition of the tissue, it was not the foot of someone who was alive. Liz Gollier had photographed Cari Farver's foot after killing her. She had kept the photograph on a memory card. And then, for reasons that defy any rational explanation, carelessness, hubris, the particular blindness of someone who believes they have committed the perfect crime, she had placed that memory card inside a device that would eventually be given to the police. It is the only known photograph of Cari Farver after her death. With the new evidence, investigators obtained a search warrant for Liz Gollier's residence. What they found was not the home of a stalking victim. It was the home of someone who had been living inside another person's life. They found Cari Farver's digital camera. They found Cari Farver's camcorder. On the camcorder was a video. Cari Farver was on screen, talking about how someone had vandalized her car. The timestamp on the video was November 11th, 2012, 2 days before she disappeared. It was the last known recording of Cari Farver alive, and it was in the apartment of the woman who killed her. Investigators also found traces of Cari Farver's blood in the passenger seat of her Ford Explorer, the same vehicle Liz Golia had photographed before police found it. The same vehicle where the fingerprint on the mint container belonged to Liz Golia. The same vehicle where the emails in Amy Flora's voice described the stabbing. She kept the evidence of her crime in her own home, alongside the belongings of the woman she killed. On August 15th, 2017, Douglas County Judge Timothy Burns read the verdict in the case of State v. Golia. Shanna Elizabeth Golia was found guilty of first-degree murder in the death of Cari Farver. She was also found guilty of second-degree arson for burning her own home. She was sentenced to life in prison with no possibility of parole, plus an additional 18 to 20 years for the arson. Judge Burns addressed the court. Cari Farver did not voluntarily disappear and drop off the face of the earth. Very sadly, she was murdered. There was no jury. The trial was a bench trial. The judge alone heard the evidence and rendered the verdict. The standard was the same: guilt beyond a reasonable doubt, and the judge found it. No body was ever recovered. No murder weapon was ever found. No eyewitness ever came forward. The entire case was built on digital evidence, the architecture of a years-long impersonation so thorough and so relentless that it left behind its own skeleton. IP addresses, phone records, scheduled messages, deleted photographs, fake email accounts, and a single fingerprint on a mint container that took 3 years to find its owner. In 2018, the Nebraska Supreme Court denied Golia's appeal. She is currently serving her sentence in a Nebraska state prison. She has never confessed. She has never said where Cari Farver's body is. Nancy Rainey spent 3 years being told that her daughter was alive, that Cari had simply gone off her medication, moved to Kansas, and become a dangerous, unstable stalker. Nancy spent 3 years trying to call a phone that never picked up, begging to hear her daughter's voice and receiving text messages in return. Messages that called her a bad mother, messages that told her to stop looking. She knew they were wrong. She knew her daughter did not write like that. She knew her daughter would not disappear from her own son's life. She told the police, and the police told her it happens all the time. Cari Farver missed her son's 15th birthday. She missed Thanksgiving. She missed her father's funeral. She missed every single event that composed the life she had built for herself and for Max. Because Liz Golia needed her to be gone. And because no one with authority thought to question why she was the one who disappeared while her messages continued. I don't think we will ever have another case like this one, Anthony Carver told A&E Crime Plus investigation. None have been as challenging in terms of complexity and scale. The investigation did more than secure a conviction. It restored a woman's name. Cari was from a small town in Iowa, Jim Doty said. Everybody had heard about this case. It totally tarnished her image and reputation. Our investigation set the record straight that it wasn't Cari sending the harassing messages. It was Liz pretending to be Cari. Cari Farver wanted to be a programmer. She was one. She was precise and logical and good at what she did. She wanted to raise her son. She did, for the years she was given. She wanted to be happy. By all accounts, she was. In the last months of her life, she was genuinely, simply happy. Liz Gollier killed her. Then she wore her name for 3 years. She sent her mother insults in her voice. She sold her furniture. She photographed her dead body and kept the picture on a memory card. She blamed her for a fire that killed Liz's own pets. She tried to pin her murder on a woman who had never met her. And sometimes, in cases like this, the weight of what was done, the sheer scale of the cruelty, the years of impersonation, the mother who called a phone that never answered, is all that remains.